We're here at Top of the Food Chain with...
I am action_Gordon on Twitter.
So, how'd you do in the tournament today?
Tournament performance wasn't super hot. I entered Street Fighter, ended up 0-2 unfortunately. But my heart really hasn't been in that game recently. You know, 5's on the horizon. Everyone's really excited with the beta. I got a little bit of time in myself. I'm looking forward to some Nash. Yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is. Things happen. It was just an off day.
But you've actually been on the scene for actually not that long. And you've improved tremendously, honestly. So, what's your secret that you improved so fast?
Just hounding other players for games. In Street Fighter particularly, it was pretty easy to identify who was sort of the higher echelon of players, I guess is a good way to look at it. You know, we had players like Fumi, Fuerte, Kev. Yourself, actually, you helped me a lot when I was first getting started. And you know, I would hound people for games. You know, hey man, you trying to play a set, trying to play a long set?
So you're trying to do the 100-game sets. So, how'd you get your name? It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. So when I first started coming out, my initial handle was Pren. Right. P-R-E-N. That was an old story from when I was a kid. My dad used to tell me, blah, blah, blah. And then there was an organization within the Sova fighting game community known as the Wheat. And a certain individual who would go by Wheat Lad, a.k.a. Omega.
Oh, rest in peace, Omega.
A.k.a. McBay. Rest in peace. Praise be his holy name. He dubbed me Action Gordon because I am white and I have a beard and I look like I should do hip hop.
I mean, there may be a certain hip hop artist that looks very similar to you. I'm not gonna lie. So, what got you into esports in general to begin with?
In general, my first foray into competitive video gaming was Super Street Fighter 4. I never really came out to sessions or anything. I was sort of an online lab monster kind of guy. But I watched everything. I watched the tournaments. I just consumed fighting game media. And eventually, you know, I couldn't really get any friends to play or anything within my existing circle at the time. They were all excited about League of Legends and stuff like that. So I figured, you know what, I'll take a look into this. But I started playing League late in Season 2. Ended up putting it down for a while, picked it back up towards the end of Season 3. And I played the shit out of it Season 4. Never really committed to ranked or anything. I was just playing with friends. But again, it became that sort of thing where I would watch all the tournaments. I watched LCS, EU LCS. I watched Korean tournaments, Worlds. I got really into it. And it sort of just kind of stayed that way. I mean, I still keep up with competitive League, mostly through Reddit. I still watch some tournaments every once in a while, but the League subreddit is super helpful.
League of Legends subreddit is actually really cool because Riot pays super close attention to it and posts all the time, which is really interesting to see that a company focuses on a message board that's not even their own message board.
Exactly. Yeah, the red posts are always super helpful. Shouts out to Scarizard, always in the comments.
So I heard that you actually want to be a scout, which is not a position that normally is being used right now, but in professional sports is definitely one of the key positions in the management organization. How do you want to pursue that career?
Well, it's something that I think is super underutilized in esports in general. Mostly we just kind of wait for some standout player to hit #1 rank on Challenger or some guy to make a big splash at a tournament before we sign him to anything. And I think it's something that organizations, if they're really serious about growing this into a viable, competitive, profitable sort of endeavor, but it's something that could definitely be used, you know, just to have somebody kind of monitoring things, to look out for new up-and-coming players, or even players that have been released. You know, you look at what happened with Double Lift recently. You know, long-time super loyal CLG player ended up going to TSM, just shook League to its core, man. Everybody just kind of, what? It's that sort of thing. You need to be able to pay attention to who's available, why are they available. That's a big question I think a lot of organizations ignore is the why. It's attitude, man. It's all attitude. You know, these players, they're good. They put up the good numbers, they get the results. But if you can't have a cohesive unit that is going to get you the results you need, you got to drop them. And these organizations will hire on these new players knowing full well that they maybe had some toxicity problems in the past or whatever, and expect them to be able to change.
Because I know even professional sports teams have tried to make the super teams in the past where they've tried to pick 5 almost huge superstars, but they all have egos and they try to make it work. And it's interesting to see League try and do that also. So another interesting thing that League is just starting to pick up is subs. we saw only one real main sub in pretty much the entire World Championships, and that was Easy Hoon on SKT T1, who happened to actually win the whole thing.
Yes.
Do you think that having that sub pushed them over the edge?
Korea's been utilizing a subsystem for a long time, actually. If you look at some of the matches that they do, they swap players in and out, even like mid-series, to shake things up a bit if maybe somebody's not comfortable in a matchup or needs a break or whatever. You look at professional football or professional baseball, professional soccer, players are swapping in and out all the time. If somebody's maybe mental fortitude is compromised, if maybe they're, to quote Seth Killian, mentally guard broken. Yeah, you don't want that player going right back into a series, especially when you're down like 0-2, 0-1, whatever. It's not a good look. It's not a good feeling for the organization, and it creates tension among the players. So I think having a sub is definitely a good thing, and I think SKT utilizing it the way they did definitely gave them an edge.
As a scout, where is some of the talent pool that you think hasn't been pulled from yet?
I'd be looking at, I'd start looking at ranked personally. Because League is very good about League in particular, I'm learning the other esports ins and outs a little bit, familiarizing myself with Dota, with CSGO, but the ladders are pretty readily available for players to view. You can see who's been putting up consistent results, what roles, things like that. I would also be looking at existing challenger programs. You have like the NACS, something like that, where some of the already qualified teams should be looking if they're looking for any serious replacements. This whole idea of shuffling existing players around to try to find like a weird puzzle piece connection maybe just isn't working. Don't put a square peg in a round hole. The Riot in particular has done a really good job of showcasing college talent. Some of these kids are putting in crazy hours just trying to get good with their friends when they should be studying, stay in school. You watch some of these series and it's good decision making, it's good communication, good teamwork. And those are the things we should really be looking for. The mechanical skill definitely has to be there, but that should be a given at the high level. If you're looking in Masters, you're looking in Challengers, these guys are mechanically talented. What do we need to do to transition that mechanical skill and raw talent into a functional, communicative team player?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that esports definitely takes for granted over, for example, professional sports, where professional sports, they've been playing from a young age. They play in organized leagues. They play through school. They play in elementary school, middle school, high school, go to the college scene, and then they finally start getting drafted by pro teams. Whereas esports feels like it's almost like you go from amateur to pro, and there's no in between.
Exactly.
So it'd be interesting to see if Riot will continue to support the challenger scene and maybe make it more of a farm system instead of we need to make it into LCS.
Right, and that's something I would like to see. Because you mentioned, again, not to keep harping on pro sports, but I went to high school with E.J. Manuel, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. I was there when he got signed for Florida State, and I kept up with him when he was in college and everything. You watched that whole process. You watched him go through high school, get scouted there by colleges. You watched him get farmed out in colleges to professional organizations. I think there's a lot of untapped potential in some of these less exposed players. My buddy CVH just got signed by Magnos eSports. They're an upstart organization. He's playing Hearthstone for them now.
Very nice.
But again, it's like that whole idea, there's no in between. You start amateur, you go pro, that's it.
And is there any shout outs you want to give out? Or any people that were helped you along the way, anything like that?
Shouts out to TGS, of course, that game store in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Great central hub for the SOVA FGC. I'm really happy to be a part of that. Shouts out, of course, to Wave eSports for the interview. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, definitely. We actually really enjoy you having on. It's great.
I'm very happy to hear that. And yeah, shouts out to CVH. Congrats on getting signed, man. I'm really proud of you. He made it happen. That man streamed relentlessly. He laddered relentlessly. Every season would come up and be like, yeah, man, I'm going to try to get to ladder, get to legend. That would never happen. I would just quit playing after like 2 weeks. But he stayed on the grind and he's making it happen. I'm really happy for him. So
Nice. Thanks for coming out. We really appreciate you. It's been good.
my pleasure, sir.
What's happening?
Our director out of here. Sorry. Our director's hella distracted.
Goodbye.
This is Wave Fumi, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey guys, see you, bud. Love you, bye.
League late in season 2. ended up, damn, our director, ladies and gentlemen.